The little, and we used to call it a manila folder.
Oh, yeah.
That in kindergarten, my now almost 6-year-old son cut out the Rudolph reindeer, and it has a little red board with a bell around its neck with those pins for legs. That goes out every Christmas.
Good, good. So for your Drab brown reindeer that your son made 60 years ago, out of clothespins and a manila folder. Beth?
I have more than I can name, but I do have a Smokey the Bear, who I received when I was 2 years old.
Okay, Smokey the Bear. Mike?
Yeah, I don't want to, but I just reminded me of the cutout, second grade, was it sister grade? Anyway, she, at Christmas, the day before everybody went home, we made ornaments where you would melt, do you remember those little beads, you would melt them?
Yes.
So I had
You have Rudolph melted
on our tree for
on the
20
tree.
years.
Yes, there you go, Ron.
I had a lock of hair from my.
A lock of hair from your first haircut. Wow, impressive. Ron?
I had a dancing that was made for me when I was 5, 6 years old on cattail reeds.
Dancing hoop made out of cattail reeds.
Wow.
Mr. Winishek, he was a chief of one of the Winnebago tribes.
Nice, nice. So a chief from one of the Winnebago tribes made that for you. Wonderful. Karen, were you going to say something? No, no. Anybody else feel the need to share quickly?
I used to be an international friendship club in high school, and I was writing with a guy in France, and he started suggesting that I come to France. He's got this like stationery he wrote on that has like a kind of a couple snuggling together. I sent all the letters that we sent.
So all the old letters that you got. So why do we cherish these drab brown imperfect things?
Relationships.
Relationships,
Memories.
memories,
Dreams.
dreams. Jerry?
We attribute that they have a soul.
They have a soul. It's some interesting, unique. God, I know. Teddy has a soul. Right? Julie said love.
We have to have trophies.
Trophies. Okay. Rudolph the trophy ornament on your tree. But they're things that we cherish because of maybe lessons we learned, things we were taught because of. They make you feel good. And so why isn't all of that considered something sacred? Is that not all sacred and wonderful? The relationships and the love and the soul and the memories is all sacred. And yet we tend to go, oh, it's an old teddy bear, but it's a piece of the sacred too for our lives. So the other parable is about the yeast, the little tiny piece of yeast that thrown into a whole bunch of flour makes it rise and makes it bread. And that too is like the kingdom. It's something that's small and yet works kind of behind the scenes. It's the unnoticed smiles and the whispered prayers and the small kindnesses that nobody notices, but they ripple through the world. That's the yeast that grows. Two quick stories. There's a janitor at a very, very busy hospital. And day after day, she did her job, cleaning the patients' rooms. And people really took no notice of her. But every day when she did her job, cleaning the patients' rooms, she would pray over the rooms. And she would ask God to bless the patients. Nobody ever knew she did this. And yet, the doctors and the nurses started to sense sort of a lingering peace in those rooms. That they didn't understand, and yet there was that yeast working in the background. At one point, a conductor of a very prestigious orchestra in the United States was asked what the hardest instrument is to play. And his answer was, after thinking about it for a moment, his answer was second fiddle. He said it's easy to find, everybody wants to be first violinist. It's easy to find that person with the enthusiasm and the what? Yeah, just the verve to do that part. But he said somebody to play second fiddle with enthusiasm, that's hard to find. He said, but without it, you don't have any harmony. It's the yeast of that second fiddle that brings out the depth of the piece, the complexity of the piece, and turns it into magic. And yet, isn't that second fiddle sort of looked at as a drab brown thing? Oh, I'm just second fiddle. Right? Nobody wants to be second chair. So one more story with a nod to Father's Day. From the time Tommy was little, he can remember that his dad had an old pickle jar that sat on the floor next to his dresser. And every night when his dad came home from work, he dug all the coins out of his pockets and he tossed them in the pickle jar. And when that pickle jar was full of coins, Tommy's dad would take the full pickle jar into the kitchen and he'd put all of those dimes and nickels and pennies and quarters into rolls. Remember how you used to have to put them into rolls? And the two of them drove them to the bank. And while they were driving to the bank, his dad would always say to him, Tommy, these coins are for your college fund. You aren't going to live in this old mill town, working for the textile mill for the rest of your life like I did. You're going to have a better future than me. This old mill town not going to hold you back. And he pushed those coins across the counter at the bank to the cashier, and he'd always say to the cashier, this is for my boys' college fund. This old mill town's not going to hold him back. He's not going to end up working at the mill like his father did all his life. And then after they deposited them in the bank, they always went to the ice cream parlor. And Tommy got chocolate, and his dad got vanilla. And as the cashier was handing his dad the change, his dad would take it and he'd look at Tommy and he'd say, we're going to go home and start filling up that jar again. And he always let Tommy put the first handful into the pickle jar. And his dad would say, you're going to college. It may be on pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters, but you'll get there. And even when times got tough, Tommy's dad never took money out of that fund or out of that pickle jar, not a cent. Even the summer his dad was laid off from the mill and they ate rice and beans, his dad would look at him across the dinner table and say, when you grow up, you're never going to have to eat beans unless you want to. Well, Tommy went to college, and he got a job in a different town. And when he came back, not long after that, to visit, he went in his parents' room and he noticed that there was an empty spot on the floor next to the dresser. Kind of got a lump in his throat, because, that old pickle jar was gone, because it wasn't needed anymore. Well, the years passed, and Tommy married a nice woman by the name of Susan, and he told her all about the significance of the lowly pickle jar. And he said, that pickle jar, more than anything else, defined how he knew how deeply his dad loved him. So the first Christmas after Tommy and Susan had a baby daughter, they went to spend Christmas with Tommy's parents. And after dinner, Susan took their daughter to give her a change in his parents' bedroom. And she came back all misty-eyed. And she handed baby off to Grandpa. She took Tom by the hand and she led him into his parents' bedroom. And there, sitting next to the dresser, in the spot that it had once been removed from, was that old pickle jar with a layer of coins already in it. an ordinary pickle jar that signified love and generosity, and yeah, hopes and dreams. A soul, perhaps, Jerry. Something that connects us to something more, something deeper, the sacred within us. And so we cherish those small brown things. And when we do, we see God everywhere. Amen.